I don't think there's a single NFL team out there that's more exciting than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because, of course, you do have the acquisition of Tom Brady. You do have two of the top wide receivers from last year and arguably the best wide receiver duo in the NFL last year. But on top of that, you have a fairly fierce pass rush that features one of the top pass rushers last year in Shaq Barrett, alongside former number 2 overall pick and consistent standout defensive tackle Ndamukong Suh. But you add to the fact that the offense has players such as O.J. Howard and Rob Gronkowski. They are captained by a offensive mastermind in Bruce Arians, and you have a very, very exciting team whose only question mark really is, how much does Tom Brady have left in the tank, and how far could Tom Brady take this team? What's going on, guys? Your boy Mike here, and before we get to the content, please take a moment to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Unfortunately, a lot of my videos have been getting demonetized lately, so as a result, I'm going to be dependent on you guys liking and subscribing and turning on my notifications so you can hopefully be alerted whenever I am online with a new video. In addition to this, I am dropping my Junior Seau career documentary this upcoming weekend. Yes, that's the documentary we're going to be working on this weekend. I think it's very important to the sport of football that we know Junior Seau's story. I'm going to leave a link to that in the description down below so you can set a reminder for the premiere. And of course, I'm going to be live streaming on Twitch when Madden 21 comes out, as well as giving away a couple of copies of Madden on my Twitter account. A link to those are in the description down below. Now that we got all that out of the way, break! Mic check 1 2 1 2. Guys, I'm in the middle of editing this video right now, and something kind of got my attention. There are a lot of teams to cover, and there's a lot of news to cover. So if you guys could tell me in the comment section what type of news is the most important to you and what I should prioritize. I know the Dallas Cowboys are one of your guys' favorites, or one of your guys' least favorites. I know you guys really care about Antonio Brown's situation, Tom Brady, Cam Newton, and the Patriots. If there's anything else that you'd like me to cover, please tweet at me, because I'm just trying to cover everything for you guys, but obviously I have to prioritize some things over others. Now that Tom Brady has had a couple of practices with his Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I thought it was extremely important to go into what the Buccaneers are currently dealing with and what their current challenges are, so we could have realistic expectations from them coming into the NFL season. Now, a lot of people would think that since the Buccaneers don't have a whole preseason to install their offense, that could actually work to their detriment, but actually that's actually seen as more of a benefit, because Tom Brady has admitted that he underestimated the challenge of learning a brand new playbook from a brand new head coach, learning brand new cadences, and learning a brand new offensive system. Now, to quote Tom Brady exactly, he had this to say: "It's been different having the opportunity over this time to move and to, for example, study my playbook. I mean, I really haven't had to do that in 19 years, so you forget. Man, that's really tough. Like all the different terminologies." He continues on to say, "You're going back a very long time in my career to really have to put the mental energy in like I did. I have to work at it pretty hard physically still. I put a lot of time and energy into making sure I'm feeling good in order to perform at my best. But mentally, I think that's been the thing that's obviously had its challenges." At the same time, you guys have to understand, this isn't any regular quarterback. This is Tom Brady, a player who is the oldest quarterback in the NFL and is considered to be one of the most brilliant NFL minds in the entire NFL, and probably has, without a doubt, the greatest football IQ in the entire NFL. Towards the end of his career with the New England Patriots, Bill Belichick primarily used Tom Brady's ability to make pre-snap adjustments to his advantage to typically audible to a nice little running play or a short pass, because the Patriots didn't really have wide receivers. The reason I'm saying this is, not only do I have tremendous confidence in Tom Brady being able to learn the playbook in no time, but his head coach, Bruce Arians, also says it's going to probably take him a day or two at most to figure out the new playbook and get accustomed to it. Now, here's another thing that most Buccaneers fans are afraid of. Bruce Arians was notorious for this with Carson Palmer and Jameis Winston, and Carson Palmer even came out and said himself that typically your first season under Bruce Arians and his brand new offensive system is probably going to be your worst because his offensive system is fairly complicated. But we are all hoping that Tom Brady is an exception, and for the most part, he could be an exception. Now, whether he is or not, I'm going to let you guys decide. Let me know in the comment section down below if you think Tom Brady is going to have a bad season underneath Bruce Arians' first year as his head coach, or if you think he's going to be an outlier and perform way better than Carson Palmer or Jameis Winston did. After all, he is considered to be the better quarterback, even better than both of them. Now, the main thing that's going on for the offense so far is a lot of people would expect Tom Brady to be primarily targeting his former New England Patriots teammate and a really close friend of his, Rob Gronkowski, in these practices, but you'd be surprised to know that Tom Brady is actually making his connection with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans a focal point of this training camp. And there's been a couple of instances, like the one I'm showing you on your screen right now, where he was able to find Chris Godwin for a touchdown, and he was able to connect with Mike Evans, even though Mike Evans did get tripped up on his route for a touchdown as well. Don't get it twisted, just because this is Tom Brady's first season with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers doesn't necessarily mean that it isn't his team. He is getting acclimated to a brand new playbook, but he is the one encouraging everybody in the huddle. He is the one leading the team during practice, and he is coming off as Bruce Arians' right-hand man, even though this is their first season together. But not only is Tom Brady placing a focal point on the first team, he is also watching the second team as well and is encouraging those guys as well. But a really interesting storyline, and I guess this is kind of more of a minor detail, and if you're a Buccaneers fan, you'll just be happy to hear this, because if you've been a Buccaneers fan for the past couple years, one of the positions that has been very, very frustrating to follow is the running back position. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers running backs have never been anything that scared anyone. They've always had one of the bottom rushing offenses in the entire NFL. And they did take a chance on Ronald Jones a couple drafts back, hoping that he would develop into a premier back at some point. However, he never really materialized and became that running back, but apparently, according to some notes that we got from training camp, Ronald Jones in general looks very good in the receiving game. His hands look more natural, and he was able to take some receptions from Tom Brady as well. Now, again, I usually say this when we discuss training camp stuff, guys. It's just training camp. Just because they could do it in practice doesn't necessarily mean that they can do it in the middle of the game, but nonetheless, this is still very encouraging information to receive. Now, for those that are concerned about Tom Brady's arm, because of course, even I'm one of those people that thinks Tom Brady's arm is not going to be nearly as strong as it used to be, and even though he's put up phenomenal stats compared to any other quarterback over the past couple of years, it's still not at the standard that we expect Tom Brady to play at. But we did get a report that in Tom Brady's first day in pads, he was able to throw a phenomenal deep post pass to his wide receiver, Scotty Miller, who ended up scoring a touchdown, and it was a perfect throw. Now, we do not have footage of this. We do have footage of the Chris Godwin play, but we don't have footage of this play that I'm mentioning. But based off of what we're getting from James Palmer TV on Twitter, it appears as though Tom Brady's arm is okay. Now, if there's a weakness that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers currently have, it appears to be their defensive backs. And Bruce Arians isn't really a huge fan of them currently. He has been yelling at them more than any other group, and that seems to be the biggest weak spot for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But in terms of their offense, it's a fine oiled machine, and it seems like they're doing their job.